In this video, I'm going to talk about a species niche. So some of you might be asking yourself, is it niche or is it niche? And chances are one or the other sounds more correct to you. And there's some debate over how to pronounce this word. And this isn't the only word that people argue about. I can remember in undergraduate physiology course, my British professor talking about capillaries, and it took me a couple lectures to realize he was talking about capillaries, and it was a combination of his accent and British pronunciation that was at the root of my confusion. And anyway, with respect to this particular word, some say niche and some say niche, and both are acceptable. However, niche is the older of the two pronunciations, and up until about the 20th century, it was the only pronunciation that was used. So some purists argue that niche is the only pronunciation that's accepted in academic circles, but I'm of the mindset that language is fluid and it certainly isn't static. Also, I say niche, that's what sounds right to me, so I'm probably biased in that way. But if you don't believe me that both are acceptable, you can feel free to look it up in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So habitat and niche are two different things. For a species, its habitat is its address, so where it lives. But its niche is its profession. It's a term used to describe the role a species has in an ecosystem. And that includes where a species lives, what it does there, and how it interacts with other organisms. To reiterate, the habitat is where the species lives. An example is that a leafcutter ant lives in an underground colony near the tropical forest edge, but that's not its niche. The niche refers to both where it occurs and how they do their thing, how they interact with members of their own species and other species. So for example, leafcutter ants harvest leaves as a substrate to grow fungus for food. And it also includes where in fact they live in these underground colonies. And there are kind of two different ways we talk about different niches. There is a realized niche versus a fundamental niche. So to give an example of the difference between a realized niche and a fundamental niche, I'm going to talk about the expansion of coyotes in North America. So coyotes weren't in eastern North America until the early 1900s. And in fact, they expanded all over North America, and they expanded eastward into the eastern parts of Canada and the United States after wolves were extirpated from that region. So it opened up habitat for them to expand eastward. As they moved eastward, they also hybridized with remaining and remnant wolves that were in the area. This animation on the right here shows the expansion of coyotes from the centralized regions of North America across the eastern regions of Canada and the United States, and even well up into Alaska. So the fundamental niche of coyotes is all of this range, because that's the places that they can potentially inhabit and have inhabited when wolves were extirpated, before wolves were excluding coyotes from those regions. So the realized niche of them before the extirpation of wolves would have been this centralized region here, because that's where they lived, they were contained within that region. So a realized niche is the range of conditions under which a species actually occurs in natural communities. So that's where they are actually living. But the fundamental niche is the range of conditions that allows a species to survive and reproduce. So those are two very subtle but differing terminologies with respect to what a niche is.